So guys, how are you all doing, guys? I hope you all are doing well. So guys, based off on today's topic, we are going to be talking about trading mistakes you should avoid. I like all these things I'm about to talk about now. All of them has happened to me. I don't know if I'm making sense. So please, I don't want the same mistake to happen to you guys. So today I'll be telling you guys that all the trading mistakes you should avoid based off on this session. So that because all these things in the past, all of them has happened to me. So I don't want all these things to happen to you guys. Please, if you know that, I keep saying that if you know that you have not yet watched my previous session, go back to them and make sure that you watched all of them and understand them. I don't know if I'm making sense. So guys, let's proceed. Based off on today's session, we're going to be talking about trading mistakes you should avoid. I keep telling you guys that when it comes to trading is all about taking risk. And when it comes to you taking risk, make sure that you take calculated risk. I don't know if I'm making sense. Now, we're going to be talking about trading mistakes. Trading mistakes. Trading mistakes. You must avoid as a trader. So guys, when it comes to trading mistake, you must avoid as a trader. I think there are a lot of them. I don't know if it makes sense, but based off of my own personal experience and everything since all this while I've been on the market, I'll be teaching you guys from my own personal perspective. I don't know if it makes sense. So number one, when it comes to trading mistakes, you should avoid as a trader. I keep telling you guys that you must have a trading plan. I don't know if I'm making sense. You must have a trading plan. Trading plan is just like all those stuffs that will help you, that will guide you towards that stage of you being a profitable trader. I don't know if I'm making sense. Like whatever works and whatever, let's say, like any sort of things you find out that it works, or anyone that doesn't work at all, you add it inside your trading plan. I don't know if I'm making sense. So, guys, number one, you must have a trading plan. You must have a trading plan. I don't know if I'm making sense. You must have a trading plan. Trading plan is very, 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 very important. I don't know if I'm making sense. That trading plan you are having is just like a tool that will guide you towards that stage of you being a profitable trader. I don't know if I'm making sense. So, guys, this is number one. You must have a trading plan. So, guys, number two, I keep telling you guys that trading is all about taking risk. I don't know if I'm making sense. And when it comes to you taking risk, make sure that your risks are calculated. I don't know if I'm making sense. I keep telling you guys that it's all about taking risk. I don't know if I'm making sense. So you must have a risk management plan. I don't know if it makes sense. For example, now I taught you guys what risk management, money management, and risk reward are. I don't know if it makes sense. Now combine all those things together and add all of them inside your trading plan. I don't know if it makes sense. For example, now let's say you are risking something of 10% of 100K. 10% of 100K is around 10K. I don't know if it makes sense. Now, inside that 10K you are risking, you know so well that inside that 10K you are risking. Let's say you want to dash out that 10K, something like you want to give that 10K to this market or something like that. I keep telling you guys that please don't invest your money in one basket. I don't know if it makes sense. Before you invest that money, make sure that you have that money somewhere else. I don't know if it makes sense. This is just like you having a risk management plan. I don't know if it makes sense. And with all these things, you still find out that at the end of everything, you still remain a profitable trader. I don't know if it makes sense. So number two, you must have a risk management plan. Number three, overtrading. I keep telling you guys that overtrading is very, very bad. I don't know if it makes sense. Number two, you must have a risk management plan. Number three, overtrading. I keep telling you guys that let's say, for example, now you took one trade on the market. Luckily for you, that trade turns out to be a winning trade. I don't know if it's making sense. Instead of you to leave the market for the rest of that day, or let's say you made a very huge profit, instead of you to leave the market for the rest of the week and come back next week, you continue forcing trade until the market takes back everything the market gave you. These are what overtrading are. I don't know if it makes sense. So please, overtrade is very, very bad. I don't know if it makes sense. Taking too many trades or trading too like frequently or often is very, very bad. And trust me, this thing will affect you as a trader. I don't know if it makes sense. And most of the time, I bet you that like scenarios like this is caused by greed or boredom. I don't know if it makes sense. So please, if you come to the market and you don't see your opportunity or something like that, kindly leave the market. I don't know if it makes sense. Then number four, reverse trading. I keep telling you guys that let's say, for example, now the previous trade you took turns out to be a losing trade. Instead of you to maintain that same risk management plan you were risking on your first trade, now you went and risk bigger. I don't know if it makes sense. These are where revenge trading comes in. Like let's say, for example, now on all your trades, you're risking something like let me just say $10,000. I don't know if I'm making sense. Now that's $10,000 you are risking on all your trades instead of you to maintain that same risk management plan because of the previous trade you took turns out to be a losing trade. Now you want to revenge everything. I don't know if I'm making sense. So please, it's very, very bad. I don't know if I'm making sense. You trying to win back your losses immediately after a losing trade. That's what a revenge trading are. I don't know if I'm making sense. And most of the time, I think emotional reaction or scenarios like this even cause bigger losses from my own personal experiences on this market. I don't know if I'm making sense. Now, number five, I keep telling you guys that trading is all about emotions. When I mean emotions, we can also call them psychology. I don't know if I'm making sense. They're just like all those things that will just help you keep a cool head when you are in a trade. Not like if you enter a trade, you start panicking. I don't know if I'm making sense. Now, ignoring your emotions. These are where number five are. I don't know if I'm making sense. I keep telling you guys that please, if you know that you come like anytime you want to trade or you come into this market for you to execute your trade, I know so well that you will not manage your emotions on that trade. Please don't enter that trade. I don't know if I'm making sense. Please don't enter that trade. I don't know if it's making sense. For example, now you are trading when you are angry, tired, or stressed. Trust me, this same will even help you, like, body you as a trader. I don't know if it's making sense. It will increase your emotions. I don't know if it's making sense. So please, try as much as you can to control your emotions when you are on a trade. I don't know if it's making sense. Now, number six, I keep telling you guys that I keep saying it. Patience, 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 patience in the financial market. Patience is everything. I don't know if it's making sense. Patience simply means it's just like the ability for you to wait for your setup. I don't know if it's making sense. Let's say, for example, now you saw a trade on this market now. You know so well that I thought you guys support and resistance and supply and demand, something like that. You know so well that this guy down here is a support level. I don't know if it's making sense. And we have this high up here. Yes, I taught you all this before. I don't know if it's making sense. We have this high up here. This high up here is just like a resistance level. I don't know if it's making sense. You know somewhere that the strategy you are using something like, let's say maybe you are using something like, will I say, yeah, you're using something like, yeah, like something like your Fibonacci retracement. I don't know if it's making sense. You know very, very well that this is just like your strategy. I don't know if it's making sense. Now, instead of you to stick to this strategy, for the sake of, let's say, maybe something like 2 to 3 weeks, you didn't see any opportunity on this market. Now you want to enter, this one. Nah, trust me, the market will hit you. I don't know if it's making sense. From my own personal experience on this market, trust me, the market will hit you. I don't know if it's making sense. This is where patience comes in. So please, patience are very, very, very important. I don't know if it's making sense. And also, patience simply means holding your chairs for long. I don't know if it's making sense. Just like, for example, you exiting your chair too early or entering too soon. I don't know if I'm making sense. From my own personal experiences on this market, I will tell you that profitability in the financial market is all about patience and emotions. I want you guys to write it down somewhere. I don't know if I'm making sense. Once you know that you have mastered your emotions and patience, trust me, you start seeing profitability on this market. I don't know if it makes sense. So please, patience are very, 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 very important. I don't know if it makes sense. Just like more or less like you waiting for your opportunity to form. I don't know if it makes sense or exiting too early or entering too soon on your trade. I don't know if it makes sense. Now, when it comes to number seven is just like more or less like you don't journal. Now I keep telling you guys that journaling are very, very important. Don't worry, on my next session, or will I say on my upper session, Or talk about how to journal your trades or something like that. I don't know if it makes sense. So journaling is very, very, very important. I don't know if I'm making sense. Journaling is very, very, very important. Journaling is very, 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 very important. I don't know if I'm making sense. Let's say, for example, now you took you took a loss on your previous trade. Now tell me that loss you took, how are you going to learn from your lesson without you journaling your trade? I don't know if I'm making sense. Even if you win, you journal it down. If you lose, you still journal it down. I don't know if it makes sense. So please, journaling is very, 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 very important. I don't know if I'm making sense. Make sure that you keep tracks of all your trades and make sure you learn from your mistakes. I don't know if it makes sense. Keeping a trading journal is very, 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 very important because trust me, it helps you improve your strategy and your mindset. I don't know if it makes sense. Now, number eight, I keep telling you guys that allow your opportunity, like allow the market to come to you. Don't chase the market. I don't know if it makes sense. You chasing the market is just like you just want the market to take your money. I don't know if it making sense. Make sure that you allow the market to come to you. Don't chase the market. I don't know if it making sense. Attract. I don't know if it making sense. Attract. Allow the market to come to you. Don't chase the market. Anytime you come to this market and you feel like you don't understand this structure or something, you better leave. I don't know if it makes sense because from my own personal experience, if you take chase like that, the market is gonna hit you. I don't know if it makes sense. So please try as much as you can not to chase the market. I don't know if it's making sense. Entering, let's say for example, now entering shares late because like you have something like FOMO. That's fear of missing out. Like you don't want to miss any opportunity on this market. Even if the opportunity is low probability setup, you want to take them. Now tell me, if you waste all your money on low quality setup, when high quality setup comes in, tell me which money are you going to use and trade it? I don't know if it makes sense. So I kept telling you guys that to make sure that you keep trading easy. I don't know if don't complicate trading. I don't know if it makes sense. Please don't chase the market. I don't know if it makes sense. Now, number nine, I taught you guys what risk to reward ratios are. For example, now let's say I'm risking something like I saw a risk reward of something like let me say 3.64 on this market RR. I don't know if it's making sense. This RR simply means risk to reward. I don't know if it's making sense. And I, as a trader, I'm risking something like, let's say, for example, let me just use $1,000 as an instance. I'm risking something like $1,000 on that particular trade. I don't know if it's making sense. I've already said this before and I will say it again and again. I don't know if it's making sense. When it comes to you using your risk to reward, make sure that you always have your calculator nearby. I don't know if it's making sense. Now, let's say this $1,000 I'm risking, this bad guy now I'm risking. You know very well that this bad guy is just like $1,000. And I keep telling you guys that before you invest this money into your trading account, you already have it times five somewhere. I don't know if it's making sense. Now, you bring out this $1,000 now and times it with this 3.64 RR. I don't know if it's making sense. You can see with this 3.64 RR. Now, this particular trade right here, if this trade now smashes your TP, I will gain 3,000. I will gain 3,640. $640. I don't know if I'm making sense, but without me, I uh, the level I am on this market now. I don't need to open calculator for all this. I don't know if it's making sense. I can literally do all this thing with my brain. I don't know if it's making sense. So guys, that's just it. It's very, 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 very important. This one is very, very important. Always ask yourself, if I enter this trade, the amount I'm risking, is this amount bigger than the amount I'm risking combined to the amount I'm gonna win if this particular trade smashes my TP? Always think like a cheat. I don't know if I'm making sense. So, guys, it's very, 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 very important. You taking trade with a poor risk to reward potential, trust me, it's gonna delay your profitability on this market. I don't know if I'm making sense. Let's say always aim for something like minimum, at least minimum one to five is okay. One to four is also okay. I don't know if it making sense. Minimum one to four, one to five. Please, it will help you. Don't go and be seeking this risk reward of one. Let's say, for example, I did something like $1,000 on a trade. If that particular trade still smashes my tip, I'll still gain back that $1,000. Don't know if it making sense. So it doesn't make sense like that. So, guys, the next one we're going to be talking about you not using a stop loss. I keep telling you guys that stop loss are very, very important. Stop loss is just like a tool that helps you gauges your loss. For example, now let's say, for example, now like you have a stop loss or something like let me use $1,000. I don't know if it's making sense. Once the market now smashes down your stop loss, you are losing this $1,000. But Let's say now you fail to set your stop loss. If the market continue moving against you, you continue losing more. I don't know if I'm making sense. I know so well that the market is just so unpredictable. I don't know if I'm making sense. You don't control this market, you don't own this market. Your job as a trader is just for you to make money. That's if you're right. If you're wrong, you're gonna lose. I don't know if I'm making sense. So please, they are very, 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 very important. So the next one is just based off on over leveraging. This one, I think this one, I myself, I think during my very first year of trading, then I struggled with this thing over leveraging. I don't know if it's making sense. Let's say, for example, what is over leveraging? Now, over leverage simply means risking more than your account size, or will I say your account balance, anyone. I don't know if it's making sense. So, for example, now, let's say, for example, now you saw a trade of something like 1 to 2, or let's say 1 to, let me just say you saw a trade of something like 2 weeks to the world. That's if you risk $1,000. If the market smashes your TP, you gain $2,000. I don't know if it's making sense. You know so well that that $1,000 you have inside your trading account is just like your last earn money. I don't know if it's making sense. Instead of you to stick with that exact $1,000 stop loss, you went and added more positions. Now, these are where this bad guy comes in, over leveraging. Don't know if it makes sense. Risking more than your account balance, or will I say your account size? Don't know if it makes sense. So please try as much as you can to avoid to stay away from over leveraging. Over leveraging is very, very bad. I don't know if it makes sense. Now, the next one we are going to be talking about today is, I keep telling you guys that you don't control this market, you don't own this market. News events are very, very important. Do ignoring news event as a trader, just like, for example, you are just causing more harm than good on your account. I don't know if it makes sense, because I bet you 99.9% of high impact news events you see on this market is always negative. I don't know if it makes sense. From my own personal experiences on this market, 99.9%, yeah, 99.9% of the high impact news events on this market is based off on negativity. I don't know if it makes sense. Now, if you check 99.9%, you see that only 0.1% is just positive. I don't know if it makes sense. So please try as much as you can to refrain from trading high impact news event. I don't know if it makes sense. In some scenarios, also don't trade medium impact news event, because most of those medium impact news events is just like in form of high impact news event. I don't know if it makes sense. So now, the next thing I'm going to be talking about today is that I keep telling you guys that trading is all about consistency. You don't just come into this market and say that you want to make money today. No, this is not about consistency. I don't know if it makes sense. In the long run, this market is gonna reward only the patient traders. I don't know if it makes sense. So if you know that you are trading for the fact that you want to make money quickly, please don't come into this game. I don't know if it makes sense. Just like that's your unrealistic expectations. It's not gonna work for you. I don't know if it makes sense. Anything you are doing on this market, invest your money like something like long-term investment. Think like a cheat. Don't just come into this market and say that you want to make money, or will I say you want to, or will I say you want to just make quick money? No, it's not to make sense. So remove that, will I say, that spirit of unrealistic expectations from yourself. I don't know if it makes sense. Like expecting to get rich overnight, it will never happen. Trading is something of long term. I don't know if it makes sense. So you have to understand that trading is all about marathon, not a sprint. I don't know if I'm making sense. You have to focus on the process, focus on consistency. I don't know if I'm making sense. Now, the next thing I'm going to be talking about is you as a trader not adapting to market conditions. I told you guys that when it comes to trading, we have three types of market conditions. We have uptrend, downtrend, and ranging market. Now, from all this market I just mentioned, the only market you are going to be trading is just like an uptrend and downtrend. I don't want you guys to trade the ranging market. Ranging market is very, very bad. Don't know if I'm making sense. 99% of the trades inside the ranging market is always negative. That's minus. I don't know if I'm making sense. So please only trade an uptrend, or will I say a downtrend? I don't know if it makes sense. So the next one we're going to be talking about is today is letting profits turn into losses. I keep telling you guys that that's why break even and taking partials are there. I don't know if it makes sense. For example, now you saw a very big profit, or let me say something around $8,000. I don't know if I'm making sense. Now, you as a trader, you saw that type of profit. The very next thing that will come into your head is that, how do I protect my capital? I don't know if I'm making sense. It's just like, for example, now, how do I protect my capital so that this particular trade will not go back to a loss? I don't know if I'm making sense. Now, these are where break evens and these are where trade management comes in. Please, if you know that you haven't yet watched my previous sessions based off on trade management, go back and make sure that you understand everything. I don't know if it makes sense. Please, never you let your profits turn into losses. You must, it's a must. You can never predict this market. I don't know if it making sense. Like this market is all about 50-50 chance. I don't know if it making sense. You not locking in like your profits or moving your stop loss to break even or taking partials is very, 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 very bad. I don't know if you're making sense. So please make sure that you lock in your profits first. Use partials or break evens. I don't know if you're making sense. Secure your profits first. I don't know if you're making sense. Anytime the market gives you even the smallest, let me say the smallest profit. I don't know if you're making sense. Now, the next thing I'm going to be talking about today is ignoring technical and fundamental analysis. Let's say, for example, now, anytime you come into this chart, now the very first thing you want to do is just for you to place a trade without to checking news event. I don't know if it makes sense. Now, when it comes to you checking your fundamentals, the only app I recommend is my FX book. I don't know if it makes sense. I've been using my FX book for a very long time, like very, very, very long time. And trust me, they are good. I don't know if it makes sense. My FX book is just like the very, very best app for you to check your fundamental analysis. I don't know if it makes sense. So you as a trader, ignoring technical and fundamental analysis is very, very bad. Before you place a trade on your trading account, please make sure that you check fundamentals. It's very, very important. I don't know if it makes sense. It's very, 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 very important. It's just like more or less like you guessing instead of you analyzing price action or data based off on what has happened, let's say on the previous time or something like that. I don't know if it's making sense. Now, the next one I'm going to be talking about is giving up too soon. This one is just like the last one. I don't know if it makes sense. Giving up too soon, like because you felt like you have tried and tried and tried, yet nothing, and you want to give up. Remember what I said. Trading is all about consistency. I don't know if it's making sense. If you come into this game for you to make quick money, please don't come into this game. Trading is a long-term stuff. It's something of consistency. I don't know if it's making sense. It's not something of get rich quick scheme or you getting rich quick overnight. I don't know if I'm making sense. As long as you know so well that you are putting in the work, trust me, like it's just like more or less like your profitability first is near. I don't know if I'm making sense. So please don't give up too soon. I don't know if I'm making sense. So please, guys, I keep telling you guys that before you let's say before you watch these particular videos, make sure that you go back to my previous videos and make sure that you understand all of them. I don't know if I'm making sense because all these sessions are based off on everything right here, just like it's just like accordingly. I don't know if it makes sense. So guys, cheers up guys. If you come across this YouTube channel, I want you guys to like and share and subscribe guys. So enjoy yourselves.